Order, order. Hello and welcome to Reporters Without Orders, a podcast where we talk about what made news, what didn't, and some things that absolutely shouldn't have. It's the 22nd of June. I'm your host, Nidhi Suresh, and today I have with me Shivnarayan Rajpurohit. Shiv has recently joined our team at Newslaundry. How long has it been, Shiv?
It's been a month, more than a month.
And how are you enjoying your experience?
I can't tell.
Not yet. It's
Not
too
yet.
soon.
Yeah.
So Shiv, you've been doing quite a few reports and you did 2 this month, which we will be talking about. I'm going to start with the first one, which is titled Emerging Star to Fringe Element, fringe in single quotes, the steep rise and sudden fall of Nupur Sharma. It all started on May 27th when Nupur Sharma, the National BJP spokesperson, now former National BJP spokesperson, was in a debate on Times Now channel regarding the Gyanvapi issue. Before we go into the piece and the details of the piece, let's just set a little bit of context maybe for some of our viewers and listeners who might not have all the details. So Shiv, can you actually tell us what was this debate about and why did this blow up in the way it did?
So the debate was on Times Now, and I think there was a heated discussion between people who were favoring the BJP and opposition side also. At the time, Nupur Sharma said something offensive against Prophet Muhammad. So after following these remarks, BJP took almost 10 days to react to what Nupur Sharma said. When there was this whole outrage in Arab countries, especially Middle East, and at the time I think the vice president was in one of the Arab countries he was visiting, and there was backlash. It started from Kuwait. So that, after that, BJP realized, of course, they went into damage control mode, and they suspended Nupur Sharma and another spokesperson.
But before the international backlash, if I remember right, there was also a lot of backlash within the country, right?
Yeah, this is the pattern that we have seen, that minority committees, they had protested in the past, but the government has been of the view that these protests don't matter much to their politics. So when there was backlash from the Arab countries, then the government swung into action and cracked whip on these 2 spokespersons. But it's also symptomatic that we afforded opportunity to Arab countries. We landed ourselves in trouble. So the BJP could have taken action before the backlash from the Arab countries. So I think this is our own doing, the diplomatic cacophony, if you call it.
This isn't the first time that she's been on a debate. It's certainly not the first time that she's spoken this way. Do we have any idea of why this particular clip became what it became and led to what it did?
Yeah, so the obvious reason is what she said on the debate. It was deemed offensive, and I think it was a national TV. On national TV, I don't think so. You have freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not absolute. So you cannot say anything that you want. But then the BJP was saying that whatever Nupur Sharma said, a lot of Muslim leaders also said the same thing. But
this was before her suspension?
On social media, the debate was going on, right? The Nupur Sharma didn't say anything out of the context. It was there in the Islamic scriptures also. But I'm not the right person to view it as an Islamic scholar, right? But some of part of the comment was really offensive. So
it's also how she said it, I think.
That's also true, how she said it. So it is just the comment that she made on Times Now that made people really angry, people from the minority community.
And the channel actually took away the clip, right? They deleted the clip from their internet, at least, from the YouTube channel.
Yeah, they did ban. At the same time, I was surprised to know that there was no action against journalists who were holding the debate.
Yeah.
And they got off the hook easily. But at the time, the host should have ticked off Nupur Sharma, saying that these comments are not allowed on national TV. And that was live debate.
We've actually done a nuisance episode where we look at how hosts from different TV channels have condemned Nupur Sharma's previous comments. So you can actually go look that up on our website, where Manisha has done a whole episode on how certain anchors have really called out Nupur Sharma and asked her to tone it down. And you can see how Navika Kumar, the host that particular day, did not really do that. Now, when BJP suspended her, they used an interesting term which obviously went viral that particular day. What was that term, and why was it so interesting?
So there was press release from Indian Embassy in Kuwait, and they said that that the government doesn't subscribe to these kind of statements, and these statements were made by so-called fringe elements. So I mean that's a big statement from the Indian Embassy in Kuwait. If you call your own spokesperson fringe element, then who is mainstream? So that was the statement that Indian Embassy issued at the time.
So coming to your profile, Shiv, so generally when we have our edit meets, we take a decision to do a profile based on a particular trigger that's happened, and we decide, okay, now is the moment to really delve into who this person is and where they come from. Because Nupur has done this before many times. This isn't her first time. What was it this time that made us sit back and say, okay, maybe it's worth looking into what led to this person's what led to that moment on the debate where she had that, where she lashed out?
I mean, the comments were distasteful in a sense. Of course, she'd been very vocal, very aggressive on TV debates, and she's not somebody who would hold back. But at the same time, you need to keep decorum, maintain decorum, like how to conduct yourself. You are a public personality. This time, of course, the comments against Prophet, that struck a chord, and it took 3-4 days. I think the following Friday there were protests in parts of India, and some places there was stone pelting also. So we got interested in the profile in Nupur Sharma because at the time she was talk of the town, and there were also calls for Nupur Sharma's arrest. And the least the BJP did was BJP suspended after getting backlash from the Arab countries. So we were interested in see how she rose through the ranks, who were people who mentored her from BJP or from outside BJP. For the profile, I went to her college, CLC, Campus Law Center in DU. That's where she studied. And before that, she was in Hindu college. So academically, of course, she has been a brilliant student. And I spoke to some of the people who were very active at that time. In 2008, she became the DU president. That was after a gap of 6 years. Somebody from ABP had won DUSU president's post. So that was a great achievement. But at the same time, the person who was contesting against her at the time, she was novice. I mean, according to the people I spoke to who were active during at the time in student politics. But I mean, the nature, the way she used to conduct herself at the time, people said that she was very articulate. She's still very articulate, but in the sense like she gets very aggressive, and maybe at times she tends to lose control. But at the time in 2008 or between 2015, she was very modest according to people from her party and across the aisle also. People from NSOA also told me. But I don't know how to, because there are conflicting views. If you speak, it depends on who you speak to. If you speak to somebody from BJYM, Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, they would say that she has always been a leader, and her leadership skills were proven at the time, and that's why ABVP spotted her, and they convinced her and her family to let her contest DUSU polls, because her family at the time was insisting that first she should complete her studies. And later on she also went to LSE, London School of Economics, and then when she returned, she became part of a team which was led by Amit Shah. So that was in 2014. So she was
one of the youngest at that
she was the youngest in that team. So she was part of that campaign. That was huge campaign. So from there on, she has been mentored by Arun Jaitley and Dharmendra Pradhan, and before that Anurag Thakur also helped her rise through the ranks. So that's her journey. But after according to people that I spoke to, after 2016 or 17, she became much more confrontational in TV debates. So that's her journey from 2008 till now.
Where does she come from? Like she's from Delhi?
She's from Delhi. So she also contested again against Arvind Kejriwal, and she lost. But but according to BJP leaders, they were really impressed the way she put forth her party's views in TV debates. That I think that impressed BJP leaders a lot. And before that, during Dusu, after she won the Dusu polls, there was, I think, Sar Gilani was invited to one of these seminars, and she led a group, and one of the group members spat on him, and following day or the same day in the evening there was debate. She appeared on the debate also. So I think she said something against Sar Gilani, I think, and she didn't hold her back. I think that also contributed to her progress in the party.
So viewers, we're actually going to talk a little bit more about Nupur Sharma, and then we're going to look at a very interesting story that Shiv did, where there was a video that became viral on Twitter where we see a few of our very famous news anchors stepping out of a certain courtroom in Delhi, and they're being heckled while people are asking them why they were in court, and this was a POCSO court. So Shiv actually went into details and did a deep dive on why exactly the anchors were in court that day, what was the case against them, and we will be talking about that as well. So if you want to listen to the rest of the podcast, you can go on our website newslaundry.com. We have our very own podcast player, or you can also listen to it on any other podcast platform that you get your podcast from.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.